Hello everyone. Today we are going to start a new chapter, that is a structural organization in animals, that is animal tissues. So for that we should know about the four tissues, which is actually very important topic for the NEET 2026, because this chapter is actually correlated with the complete human physiology. If we have studied this chapter, which is actually deleted from the new NCERT, only the frog has been given in that. So if you will study this also, this is not actually into the new NCERT, but even we should study this one, because if we are not studying, we are not taking this part, so that means we are missing a very important topic for understanding the complete human physiology. Okay, which is actually the very main topic for the NEET 2026. Okay, so for what we have to do, we have to actually focus on the main tissues, four main tissues, which is given in this chapter in the form of the four tissues, that is the epithelial tissues. Okay, and then we will see the connective tissues. Okay, after that we will focus on the third one, that is the muscular tissues, and then finally we will go for the neural tissues. Okay, so these four we have to focus. So first of all, let us go with the first one, that is the epithelial tissues. In the epithelial tissues, connective tissue, neural and the muscular, all four, we should know one very important term, that what is their location, what would be the location of all four. Okay, as well as how they are originated. Okay, their derived condition, that how they are originated or derived. Okay, their origination we should know. Okay, so that is very important, and their location in the sense their examples. Okay, the example of all the four tissues, as well as their functions we should know. If we have seen all these few terms given in the chapter, as well as if we will focus on the few terms of this chapter, of these 4 or 5 topics of all the four tissues, in all the four tissues, that means we will actually grab the important aspect, that how it will help us in understanding the complete type of the tissues. Okay, so first of all, let us see that how they all are actually originating. Their origination is occurred from which type of the germ layer. Okay, so let us see with the help of this complete flow chart. So here the first one is the epithelial tissues, and then actually second one should be the connective tissue, and the third one should be the muscular, and then the fourth would be the neural or the nervous tissues. So first of all, let us see the epithelial tissues. Epithelial tissues, that is actually originated from the combination of all the three, because it is the outermost layer, right? So this is the outermost layer, and it is originated from the combination of all the four germ layer, all the three germ layer. Okay, these are the three germ layers. So all the three germ layers gave a particular role in the origination of the epithelial tissue. That is a very important topic, that important terms, that how it could be the question for the next upcoming exam, that how the epithelial tissue is originated. It is originated from the combination, from the epithelial tissues is actually originated from the all three germ layers, ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. And what would be the main function of it? That function is actually the protection, secretion, absorption, excretion and in the reproduction. Accepting the support and protection, in all it is functioning. It is not doing any storage, because it would be the simple epithelium or maybe the compound epithelium. It could be types, if we will see. So types may be simple or may be the compound. Okay, it may be the simple or it may be the compound, means more than one layer or maybe single layer. If it would be in the form of single layer, so simple epithelium. If it is in the more than one layer, so there would be the compound epithelium. In the same way, we will focus on the connective tissue. So connective tissues is mesodermally originated only. Okay, so mesodermally originated, and what would be the function? Its function is attachment, support, protection and storage and the transportation. So here it is the function. Very important one is that connective tissue name is actually given because it is connecting the two layers, that is the outermost and the third layer. The muscular tissue is in between the connective and the epithelial tissues. Connective tissue would be in between the epithelial and the muscular. So first of all, what is there? That is the epithelial tissue. Okay, then after the epithelial tissues there would be a connective tissue, and then after there would be the muscular tissues, right? So we can say why the epithelial tissue, why the connective tissue is named as a connective tissue, because it is connecting the epithelial tissues to the muscular tissues, and then in the last one would be the neural tissue or the nervous tissues. Okay, so that is actually the four germ layers, four layers which is actually present in all over the body in our system. Okay, so epithelial would be the outermost layer, neural would be the innermost layer, and in the epithelial tissues, which is actually outermost, facing towards outside the body or towards the outer organ, outside of the organ. So whether it is an organ, whether it is a body lining, but the outer layer would be because of the epithelial tissues. Okay, and then it would be connecting with the help of a basement membrane. There would be a basement membrane in between the epithelial and the connective tissue, okay, which is actually acellular. This would be the basement membrane, and this basement membrane is actually acellular, okay, not having the cells. So we will see deeply into the epithelial tissues and all the terms and all everything we will see in that. First of all, we will focus on the classification and how the origination of these four tissues is occur. Okay, so I hope the epithelial and the connective tissue will be clear to you now. Now the third one is the muscular tissues. In the muscular tissues, again M for muscular, M for mesoderm, connective also mesoderm, but only one thing you have to learn: nervous tissue is actually the ectodermally originated. Ectoderm is the outer germ layer. Outermost germ layer is ectoderm. In endoderm is the innermost. It is the innermost germ layer. Ectoderm is the outermost germ layer. Mesoderm would be the middle germ layer. Okay, so the outermost, innermost, and the mesoderm middle layer, that all give the epithelial tissues, and the neural tissue is originated from the outer layer, that is the ectoderm. Remaining two would be originated from the mesoderm. And the function for the muscular would be for the movement. M for muscular, M for mesoderm, M for movement and the locomotion. Okay, I hope this would be very clear to you, because everything is from the M only. Okay, so next one is the neural tissue or the nervous tissue. Nervous is actually outer layer originated. It is helping in the control and the coordination. Means from the control and coordination chapter, if you will study, so in that the neural tissue will work. Means stimulus is coming from the brain only, then it will give the stimulus to the cells, and then only the hormone or we can say the endocrine system we have seen in that chapter. So that is also because of the neural tissue. Okay, so I hope this table would be very clear to you all. Now let us see about the first term, that is the epithelial tissues. Okay, so here is this diagram. This diagram is actually indicating us about the epithelial tissues. Okay, epithelial tissues, here they are showing about the flat cells also. Flat cells means single layer is there. This is also the single layer, but it is having the different shape. Here it is the oval shape. Okay, here it is a cube like shape, and here it is a column shape. Okay, here it is a column shape. This one is again column shape, but this column shape is having the upper free surface. So upper free surface is having the cilia. So we can say this type of the epithelium is columnar epithelium, ciliated columnar epithelium. We will call it as ciliated columnar epithelium. Ciliated columnar epithelium, or simple also we can say, because it is a part of the simple epithelium. But for that also again I will show you with the help of one flow chart, then you will understand better about the epithelial tissues. So let us see, epithelial tissues is what? Epithelial tissues are actually maybe the single layer, so simple epithelium, maybe more than one layer, so would be the compound epithelium. Simple epithelium means one cell thick only, means only एक ही cell की layer होगी, which will be giving the simple epithelium. If more than one layer, so many, means compound epithelium, also known as multi-layered epithelium, also known as multi-layered epithelium. But here if it is single layer, okay, that is fine, but the single layer may be having the different shape of the cell. Maybe it is the oval shape, maybe it is the cuboidal shape, maybe it could be the columnar shape, means column के shape का होगा. Maybe if it is having the columnar or either the this cuboidal, but if they are having the upper free surface ciliation, so that is why it could be the columnar ciliated or maybe the ciliated epithelium or the cuboidal epithelium. So on the basis of this ciliated epithelium, we can say maybe the cuboidal ciliated or maybe the columnar ciliated. Okay, maybe the columnar ciliated epithelium. Okay, but they all are the part of the single layer, one layer. Okay, then pseudo stratified in the sense there would be maybe cilia is present, or maybe it is having the column shape, maybe it is having the cuboidal shape, but maybe it is having the cilia or either not having. Okay, so that is what the epithelium. But if we will see about the simple, it is having the single layer only but with different shape. So it is single layer but different shapes of the cell, right? So that is what the simple epithelium. And in the compound epithelium, it would be more than one layer, means the multi-layered. And if it is multi-layered, so it may be the stratified or it may be the transitional epithelium. What is the meaning of the transitional and the stratified epithelium? That we will see. Like stratified or transitional would be actually on the basis of the many layers epithelium, but again the shape would be very here, maybe squamous भी हो सकता है, maybe cuboidal, maybe the column shape or maybe the columnar. The free surface is there, so there would be the columnar ciliated. फ्री सरफेस होगा तो उसकी सरफेस पर सीलिया देखने को मिल सकता है. इट अगेन इट इज़ डिपेंड अपॉन द लोकेशन कि कहाँ पर इसकी सेल्स जो है वो प्रेजेंट है, वेयर वी आर एक्चुअली रीडिंग दिस टाइप ऑफ द सेल. Okay, so simply we can say कि जो compound epithelium है, it is actually more than one layer, and only the layer which is deepest layer of the basement membrane. Okay, so basement membrane would be there in between the epithelial tissues. There would be the simple epithelium, maybe the compound epithelium, and in that area we can call it like there would be a basement membrane which is non-cellular in between these epithelial tissues. Okay, so we can call it like the epithelial tissues which is resting on the basement membrane, and this is only the epithelial tissues, and then we can call that the basement membrane would be there. Okay, basement membrane, and after the basement membrane there would be the connective tissues. Okay, there would be the connective tissues. Okay, so these are actually the connective tissue and the epithelial tissues which is actually in connection with the help of the basement membrane. Okay, so we will see in detail, but first of all I hope this would be clear to you, because again let me explain it. The simple epithelium means single layer, compound means more than one layer. Simple epithelium means maybe the shapes would be different, maybe squamous, maybe cuboidal, maybe columnar. Maybe if the cilia is present on the columnar, so ciliated columnar, maybe on the cuboidal, so columnar ciliated, cuboidal ciliated. Maybe if it is having the column shape and the ciliated, so pseudo stratified. Now if we will see the compound epithelium, in the compound epithelium it is having the deepest layer. Compound epithelium means it would be in the deepest layer. Okay, so that is why it would be depending upon the deepest layer, in the sense uppermost layer of the epithelium would be the simple epithelium, and the deepest would be the compound epithelium, and after the compound epithelium there would be the basement membrane. Okay, so we can call it as, because it is in the deepest layer, so we will call it as it is actually resting upon the basement membrane, right? So simple epithelium would be occurring for the secretion and the absorption we have seen, but in the compound epithelium it is not for the secretion and absorption. It is giving the chemical, thermal and we can say mechanical support. Okay, so let us see their function with it itself. Like the simple epithelium function, what I told you, that is actually secretory. It would be for the secretion and absorption. Okay, secretion and absorption. But what about the compound epithelium? In the compound epithelium we have seen that it is multi-layered compound epithelium. Okay, it is having the very little role, limited role we can call in the secretion and the absorption. Limited role in secretion and absorption. In secretion and absorption. But what is the basic function then? If it is having the limited role in the secretion and absorption, then what is the main role of it? That is actually for the giving the protection. It is giving the protection to the tissues. Okay, it is giving the protection to the tissues against mechanical, chemical, thermal, okay, and or maybe the or maybe the osmotic pressure. Okay, that is fine. Maybe the osmotic pressure. Okay, so that is what the function for the protection and the support and the protection we can call it. Like it will provide the protection to the underlying tissues, which will give the protection against the mechanical, chemical, thermal and osmotic pressure. Okay, so that is what about the compound epithelium. It may be the stratified, it may be the transitional. Why stratified? Again, it is many layers more than it would be thicker. It would be thin in comparison to the transitional, and transitional would be the thicker. Okay, or we can say it is actually a thicker in the sense thicker or the thin in comparison to the simple epithelium we are calling. Okay, but in the transitional epithelium it is actually the stretchable. Okay, transitional would be the stretchable, and stratified would be having the keratinized, so keratinized squamous. If it is not having the keratin layer over it, so it would be the non-keratinized, means non-squamous, non-keratinized compound epithelium. What we will call it? We will call it this keratinized epithelium as the compound squamous, compound stratified squamous, compound stratified squamous keratinized epithelium. That would be actually the bigger name, but it is actually the name. In the same way you can give the name to the non-keratinized, means it would be the compound stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Okay, so firstly I hope it would be clear to you now, all the terms would be clear. Now let us see the example, very important, which is very very important for it. That is, where is the squamous epithelium is present, where would be the cuboidal and columnar will be present, where would be the ciliated and pseudo stratified would be present. And what about the glandular epithelium, which is not given here, so I will mention it here itself. I will mention it here. Okay, so the pseudo stratified, and then here I am writing, I am adding the next point, that is the glandular epithelium. Okay, glandular epithelium also would be there. This would be the glandular epithelium. That also we will see. Glandular means maybe unicellular, maybe multicellular. In detail we will see, but first of all let us see the example of all the type of the simple epithelial tissues, then we will move to the compound epithelium. Okay, so let us see about the simple epithelium first. First is the simple epithelium. Okay, so simple epithelium means in the simple first term we have seen, that is the simple squamous epithelium. Simple squamous epithelium. In the simple squamous epithelium, what you have seen, that is important, where it is actually present. It is actually having the oval shape, flat cell, actually flat scale-like cells. Okay, flat scale-like cells, and it is looking like जैसे कि घर में tiles होते हैं on the floor, tiles on the floor at the home, which is actually fitting with each other. ओके सेम उसी तरह से जिस तरह से टाइल्स जो है वो सरफेस में एक दूसरे के साथ में अटैच रहते हैं, देयर वुड बी नो गैपिंग, ठीक उसी तरह से यहाँ पर स्क्वामस एपिथेलियम एक दूसरे के साथ में अटैच रहते हैं, तो इसी को हम क्या बोलते हैं, पेवमेंट एपिथेलियम। ओके टैसल, जैसे टाइल्स होते हैं तो टैसलेटेड भी बोल सकते हैं, सेम केस हम पेवमेंट भी बोल सकते हैं, दैट अटैचमेंट को हम पेवमेंट बोलेंगे, पेवमेंट या फिर टैसलेटेड एपिथेलियम। Okay, so it would be the tessellated epithelium. Okay, so what is actually the location? That is actually the main motive to give you here, to come here. So it is present, example or the location would be, it is in the inner lining of, it is in the inner lining of lung alveoli. Okay, lung alveoli and blood vessels. Okay, lung alveoli and blood vessels. This is important in the, because in the blood vessel there would be the diffusion of the gases, right? And in the alveoli also there would be the diffusion of the gases. So for the diffusion of the gases, layer should be very thin. Okay, so for the diffusion of the gases, if the layer is thick, so there would be no diffusion. For that perfect diffusion, there should be a single layer, and shape of the cell should also be very simple, that would be the oval shape. Okay, now let's see the next one, that is the second one, cuboidal shape, or the cubical, sorry, cubical shape. So cubical shape would be actually that is having the polygonal on the outline, it would be the polygonal outline. Okay, and it would be actually vertical in the shape. Where it is present, that is important. It is actually present, that is in the small, okay, it would be in the small salivary gland and pancreatic duct, small salivary and pancreatic duct. Okay, and also on the thyroid follicles, again not given in the NCERT, but it is very important, all the terms which I am telling you here, that terms are actually very very important, because the location is not given exactly into the NCERT in all the type of the tests. So you should focus on the location very importantly, because it is actually not given in the NCERT, but they can ask you the question related to this. Okay, so here it would be actually into the thyroid follicle cells, in the thyroid follicles. Okay, and the function is, you knows already, the function would be the secretion and the absorption. Okay, it is functioning into the secretion, absorption, okay, secretion, absorption, as well as the excretion also would be there. Okay, so in that it is functioning, and it is present into the small salivary gland, pancreatic duct, thyroid follicle, as well as into the PCT of the nephron. Okay, as well as it is present into the PCT of the nephrons. Okay, so these are actually the locations for this. Third one would be the cuboidal. Third one would be the actually columnar epithelium, and columnar epithelium, it is actually the column shape, so nucleus would be at the base. Okay, and it is having the cells at the, like we can say, it is located at the base, the nucleus would be at the base. Okay, nucleus at base. Okay, and tall cells are top cells, for example like this, it is having tall cells and the nucleus would be at the base. Okay, in the cuboidal there would be the cube shaped cells, simple, and nucleus would be in the center only, because it is not having the long shape, so it would be the simple cuboidal shape only. Now what is the location for it? The location would be into the gallbladder, stomach and intestine. Okay, so simply you can say into the digestive tract there would be the inner surface of the epithelium, or inner surface of the tract, that would be covered by the columnar epithelium. Okay, and also present in the gastric, and intestinal gland. Okay, and intestinal gland. So these are actually the terms in which these column shape would be present. Okay, now it is actually for very absorptive type of the cell. Okay, the next one, fourth one is actually, that is the ciliated epithelium. It would be the ciliated epithelium. Ciliated, I told you, maybe it is having the cube shape, maybe the cuboidal, or maybe the columnar. Maybe the columnar. Okay, so it depends upon the location, that where it is present, and the location means their example where it is present into the inner surface of hollow organs, that is fallopian tube for the egg crawling, because egg is actually non-motile. So into the fallopian tube, and bronchioles and small bronchi. This is important. And into the small bronchi, that is actually the difference. Bronchioles means ciliated, and small bronchi, there would be the ciliated epithelium. But if into the large bronchi they will ask in the question, so you will go with the pseudo stratified epithelium, which is the next part. That would be the pseudo stratified. Okay, pseudo stratified epithelium. So in the pseudo stratified epithelium means that would be covering the inner lining of trachea and large bronchi. Okay, so that's it for the large. Large would be the pseudo stratified and small would be the small bronchi. Okay, so that is actually the difference. Now the next is the glandular epithelium. Okay, again in the NCERT very specific terms they have given, but you should know the few terms. That is actually for your understanding, for your concept clearance, this is a very important to understand. So the glandular epithelium, it may be again, maybe the cuboidal, maybe the columnar shape, maybe cuboidal, maybe columnar shape. Okay, that is actually the shape, columnar or maybe the cuboidal, that is actually the shape. But if we will see about like the classification, how this would be the classified, that classification may be the single means unicellular, or maybe the multicellular, okay. In the unicellular means glandular epithelium isolated. Okay, isolated. For example, goblet cell, which will secrete the mucus. Okay, in the multicellular means it would be having the more than one layer. Okay, it would be having the cluster of cells. Okay, so in the multicellular we can see that it could be means endocrine, it could be exocrine, or it could be the heterocrine. Secretion. Okay, the heterocrine would be maybe if it is having endo and exo both functions, so we will call it as both. Okay, in the endocrine means hormone secreting cells, that is maybe the thyroid cells, thyroid gland we can consider the adrenal gland, we can consider the pituitary gland, right? Pituitary gland. So these like approx 7 glands would be there, so that all will come into the endocrine. In the exocrine, the salivary gland could become, okay, maybe the sebaceous gland, okay, mammary gland which will secrete the milk, okay, so etc. That would pour the secretion outside the body or outside the organ. That would be the digestive juices also will come into the exocrine part only. So that would be a different. In the heterocrine means two only, that is the pancreas and the gonads. Okay, so these are about the heterocrine gland.